Mel, what about Mac Jones's game is vaulting him up the draft boards when he doesn't fit the mold of quarterbacking in the last 10 years of the NFL?
Well, yeah, Tom Brady fits the mold, Dan, and Drew Brees fits the mold even at their age. And I think you think about where Mac Jones is right now in terms of his accuracy to all levels. He was at over 77% against great competition. Only 17 career starts is worrisome, but the competitiveness and the intelligence, I mean, so cerebral, so smart, picked up things so quickly down to those Senior Bowl practices, communicated to the huddle, just took command of that offense down there. So I think he's the kind of guy, and I thought about New England. You know, Belichick connection with Nick Saban is real. Obviously, the quarterback in play for the Patriots, thought about that, but I had Carolina taking him because Matt Rule was with them. But if you think about that situation, if he drops past there, would New England be in play for Mac Jones because of that connection with Saban and Belichick?
To be very specific, though, about Dan's question, what he's referring to is the lack of mobility that all the other quarterbacks we see in this first round have. That second threat. When I watch Mac Jones play, though, I expect, because that is the knock on him, that he can't even walk from here to there. It doesn't look to me like he's that immobile, Mel. Give us a sense of his ability to move with the football.
Yeah, slip and slide. He doesn't have to. He's not going to be Joe Burrow running in football and beating teams with his legs. But if you go back to that game against Ohio State National Championship, in the third quarter, they had cut that to a 14-point game midway through. There was a third down at their own 35-yard line where he was pressured. Jones was. He stepped up, moved around, and got the ball to Jaleel Billingsley, the tight end, who went down to about the 40, 45-yard line and led them to a touchdown drive to make it a 3-score game. So when he needed to move around enough to get the ball to a receiver, let him do the job running with the football after the catch, Mac Jones was able to do that. So seeing the field, vision, picking out third, fourth, fifth options, Mac Jones does that very well. And this notion that pocket passers who don't run a great 40 and aren't really athletically gifted are dinosaurs in this league, I think Tom Brady proved that completely wrong once again this year.
Dan, button that with a quick thought. Go ahead.
Yeah, hopefully he's got the obsessive personality that Tom Brady does. I'd say this, in the last 10 years, it's Patrick, it's Lamar, it's Russell, it's Andrew Luck, it's Josh Allen, it's Deshaun Watson. Like, those are the best quarterbacks drafted in the last 10 years. So Mac Jones better be like lights out, off the charts with ball placement, anticipation, his brains, all that stuff, because the reality is, to play really good football in the NFL and not have that mobility, you have to be an absolute superstar at those other levels.
Okay, so we'll leave that one there because I want to get everyone a question in. Chris Canty, go ahead. What's your question?
Mel Kiper, we have a problem, and I usually don't want smoke from somebody from Baltimore because I love that city. But, Mel, we can't talk about how it's a quarterback-driven league and not have the guys that get after the quarterbacks not be in the top half of the first round. In your mock draft, you don't have a defensive lineman in the top 20 picks. That hadn't happened in the last 20 years. What's up with that, Mel?
I got some crab cakes waiting for you, Chris. Settle down, pal. It's a land of pleasant living. We'll bring some of that to you today. But I think you look at the pass rushers, there's some concerns. With Gregory Rousseau opted out at Miami, didn't play, had that one great year, kind of a one-year wonder. You think about the guy who took his place, and his number 15 was Jalen Phillips coming from UCLA, but there was the concern about durability there with him. Kwity Paye, Michigan, didn't have the great year you would have thought. Jason Oweh is the most intriguing defensive player in this draft, guys. He'll probably run the 4.3s at 260 pounds with great length. He didn't have a sack this year. Talk about an enigma. Here's a guy we think will be a great pass rusher, didn't have a sack at Penn State. So that's why, Chris, to answer your question, there's some talent there, but some of these guys weren't able to put it all together. And obviously, Gregory Rousseau opted out, didn't play. That's what pushed him down a bit.
Yeah, sometimes a premium position doesn't have the right players to fit into that mold. All right, Diana Rossini, what is your question for Mel Kiper?
Mel, 2 questions for you. Will my husband get me a new car after I've been driving the same one for the last 20 years almost? That's my first question. And my second is, we heard what John Lynch had to say about Jimmy Garoppolo, saying he's got no doubts that he's going to be the starter. But how likely is it that the San Francisco 49ers draft a quarterback in the first round?
I think I wouldn't say Highly likely. I think it's certainly a possibility, depending upon whether they want to move up, Diana, to go get that quarterback, whether it's Justin Fields or whether it's Trey Lance, who I think would be ideal for what they want to do there. So I think they want to get better than Jimmy Garoppolo. The opportunity presents itself. Looking past this group for other quarterbacks down the road, this group is going to be strong for that reason. They're going to go get these guys because you're not going to see it next year in that quarterback grouping. So I think a Trey Lance or a Justin Fields is somebody, if I were them, I may go up a few spots to get.
And Mel, don't bury the lead, though. Does she get the new car?
She should. Yeah. I mean, Diana, if you need it, I'll provide it for you. How's that?
Big money, Mel.
My car's got
Mel.
185,000 miles on it. This thing is on its last little leg here. So I welcome
your
a
We'll
car.
pick out something good for you, Diana. We'll make that happen, Diana.
Mel, I need a new suit.
right.
I mean, what can we do about this? Okay, we have a minute, so I get to ask a question, too.
Your husband
and because
should be
everyone
embarrassed,
expected me
Cassini.
to lose my mind when you projected the Jets to take Kyle Pitts at number 4, but the reality is quite the opposite. As we watch football today, there is no more valuable piece to have on your offense than a great pass receiving tight end. That's certainly what it looks like to me. Is this kid in that mold?
Sure.
Is he a Travis Kelce-esque kind of offensive weapon?
Special player, Greeny, and he could be the number 2 player on a lot of teams' boards behind only Trevor Lawrence. So I think you're right. The matchup nightmare we know about, but he's an inline tight end. He's a receiving entity. You can do a lot of things with him. They got nothing out of the tight end position the Jets did last year. And the reason why you take him over Devontae Smith, wide receiver, and Jamar Chase, wide receiver, is because you can get some really good receivers, wideouts, in round 2. You're going to get nobody close to Kyle Pitts in round 2. Pat Freiermuth, tight end, Penn State, is a second rounder, not in a league with Kyle Pitts. So it's a huge drop off after Pitts. It's not like you can't find a receiver that's really good in round 2, round 3. You can pretty much be able to find that this year, I believe, because of the depth at that wide receiver position.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.